And if you agree with me, you understand that God is the source of justice. God is the source of justice. There is no justice anywhere else other than God. And we saw that in our first lesson when we talked about justice, vengeance, and mercy. Justice, vengeance, and mercy. And if you look at that lesson, ordinarily, one would have expected that the part where we read that has to do with Cain and Abel, if there can be mercy or justice within brothers, same father, same mother, where else should there be justice and mercy? Do you understand? So it's telling us that even if someone that is your friend or someone that is your colleague or someone that is your boss does not deliver in terms of justice and mercy, don't be surprised. Even amidst brothers, it has happened before. At least Cain killed Abel. Was it not his blood brother? So it should now tell you that even in the titles of court, there is bound to be injustice. That's just what that lesson was telling us. There is also bound to be. So it's only in God that you can find that justice. In our second lesson in the second week, I will also see the source of justice. We talked about Agar and Ishmael. And you converted her from slavery to become somebody that is what? The wife in the house. Abi, the child was resting on his own, Jeje in heaven. He didn't ask for it. It was Abraham that went to school and his child came. And the same mother and child, by the same husband, the man that I'm sure. How many of us are married there? At least I know my madam is married. Are you married, sir? Are you, okay, I know. Are you married? Okay. But you are not a teenager, are you? You are not. Thank you. God bless you. So it's not possible for a married man that wants to go into a wife. You know what I mean by going into, right? And when you are not in the 70s, you just go in and come out like that. At least whether it gets to your mind or does not get to your mind, you'll be saying some good things. You are very nice. You are beautiful. I like your hair. All of those sweet things. Though you are even smelling this nice self is different too. You know where you are going to. You understand? You know your final destination, but something should be coming in. So, such a man that at one point or the other forgot that this lady was a slave and still went into her the way you go into a normal marriage. One day, just decide that, oh yeah, you and your child out of my house. Is that justice? So, to tell you that even amidst couple, there might be injustice at times. Don't be shocked. Don't be surprised. It has happened between brothers. It's even happening between couple. Right? So it can happen. Your husband can disappoint you. Your wife can disappoint you. It's not the end of the world. Happen. If it happens, what do you then do? Then act God. Because here we saw that it says Agar and Ishmael not forgotten. And because God is the source of justice, God came out for Ishmael and Agar. Abi, God provided for them. And God still blessed Ishmael up till today. So that's why you find out that even when it looks as if you can call somebody your enemy, because it looks as if Ishmael and Agar became Sarah's enemy. Even those you call your enemy, God can still decide to stand in for them. Because God made us all. So God is the source of justice. And last week we looked at incorruptible leaders. Okay, so sorry, we talked about the laws of justice and mercy. We saw what God commands was, expecting us to command to rest and all of that. And last week we looked at incorruptible leaders. We are advised to be incorruptible leaders, one that is fair, does not take bribe, and so on and so forth. All of this is to ensure that justice is served. Because somebody that has taken bribe, can the person offer justice? So, and all of this, we can see that there are factors that can actually help us either to give justice or not to give justice. But at the end of it all, we saw that God is the source of justice. Today, we are looking at justice and the marginalized. You know the beautiful thing about all of these things? As much as we agree that God is the source of justice, God has an expectation. And that is why God understood that as we live day by day, as we begin to grow, There are certain things that will come up amidst us. So God is giving us advice, counsel on how to handle them. God is preparing our mind. And the expectation of God is that we will become like him. We will become like him. If we understand that God is the source of justice, then it's expected that colleague, that one will not say the truth. But I'm sure if I go and meet this brother, he goes to church now. He's not that even lead our devotion in the office. He will say the truth. He will say it. That is the expectation of God. And we'll go to our lesson today, which talks about justice and the marginalized. Can we say it together? Justice and the marginalized. We are studying from the book of chapter 24. Deuteronomy chapter 24. If we hear the word marginalized, what would be the literal meaning to us? What can we call it? Marginalized. When we say maybe something or someone is marginalized or people are marginalized, what does it mean? Who wants to help us? This is Sunday school, though. It's not sermon. No. It's meant to be a class where we interact together. Marginalized. Who wants to help us? It's an English word. That's nothing to do with the Bible. Marginalized. Who wants to help us? Marginalized. If you don't understand the topic, how do we go into the lesson? Okay, sir, go ahead.
Sorry? Destitutes. Maybe those that are not part of the majority. Yeah.
The destitute, though considered not to be part of the majority. Good. Any other one? Okay.
When some certain people are overlooked, and you don't as in they are there, but you just don't recognize them.
Thank you. When a set of people are overlooked, you don't recognize them. You don't accredit them any sort of regard. Yes, marginalized. Any last one before we go? Okay, I think the two is actually enough. We get a picture of what we are talking about. We know what justice is, doing what is right. And then we talk about justice and the marginalized. In our lesson of today, they called the word marginalized as something that talks about when people are relegated or when they are being treated as unimportant. And we consider them as being powerless and we treat them in an unfair manner. Today in our world, there are some people that deliberately, the action of the society marginalize them. But there are some people that naturally, they find themselves in that position. Example, people who become beggars today, there are certain lifestyles they believe does not belong to them. At least, I don't know whether it was sociology or psychology when we were doing it in school. And we'll talk about the caste system. We talk about that some people that don't consider themselves to be wealthy, they feel this is the kind of life that is fit for them, right? Another example, some of us or most of us, we have domestic staff in our house. They've already pegged themselves that this is the kind of life they can. In fact, some of them will tell you that, don't pay me. Let me just work for you, live in your house and feed me, I'm okay. They believe that's the best kind of life. Even when you have not decided to treat them in that way, they'll say, don't pay me. Just let me be living with you. I will work for you, just feed me. Some will say, let me just be working in your office. Just teach me the trade. Don't pay me. I will work for you, I will stay with you. But there are some people that the society in itself actually marginalized. Like people will consider the people in the lower cadre. Like in our lesson of today, if you listen to the introduction, we were talking about certain youth who were in a state, and they said they are the oil producing state, but they don't enjoy the benefit of these resources. There are no schools, no security, no this, no that. And then they have all of this. People who don't have it, they have all of these amenities. Why don't they have it? That is marginalization in the true sense of it. Or you work in an office, you know that if your unit decide not to come to the office, the whole business will shut down. You are the one that do all the kind of work that brings the business. But when the profit comes, it doesn't come to you. It goes through some certain people because you are not the preferred. That's marginalization. So that is what we are looking at today. And the first part of our lesson says generosity emphasized. Generosity emphasized. Deuteronomy 24, verse 10 to 13. Deuteronomy 24, verse 10 to 13. If you are there, you can read for us. Deuteronomy 24.
When you lend a neighbor something, do not go into his house to get the garment he is going to give you as a security. Wait outside and let him bring it to you himself. If he is poor, do not keep it overnight. Return it to him each evening so that he can have it to sleep in. Then you will be grateful, and the Lord your God will be pleased with you. Do not cheat poor and needy hired servants, whether fellow Israelite or foreigner, living in one of your towns.
Generosity emphasized. When we look at the book of Deuteronomy, it started by the law that God gave the children of Israel on how they should live. Remember that after they came out from the land of Egypt and they began to move towards the promised land, they were growing. Those that were left, they had children on the way. It becomes a big community. And don't forget, we said even conflict also symbolizes growth. Because like I said last week, if you are the only one living in a house, your neighbor, they may not even know whether you are at home, right? If you decide to marry and just you and your wife, maybe once in a while, they might hear you and your wife's voice, maybe when you have some dissonance, not all of the time. By the time you begin to go, you start having children, they will know whether you are at home or not. You don't need to tell them whether you are at home. They will know. So that is growth. But it's bringing about having to manage situations. So this also, God knows what's going to happen. And in our society today, where you have to deal with people, God knows we need certain rules. And in the book of Deuteronomy 24, it talks about how to handle divorce. It talks about so many other rules and so on and so forth. But today, we are looking at justice and the marginalized. Here, for the marginalized, the first lesson says generosity emphasized. When you look at that passage, what version did you read? Good News Version, okay. In English Standard Version, I don't know what, who asked KJV? What KJV called it? Yeah, he called it pledge. In our own, he called it cloak, Abi, or garment. Garment. KJV, what do we have in KJV? What do you have in KJV? Who asked in James Version? Sorry? Pledge, okay. Pledge, okay. So that we can have a good understanding of it. So here, he said generosity emphasized. He said, when you make your neighbor a loan of any sort, you shall not go into his house to collect the pledge. In another place, we call it a cloak. In another place, we call it a garment. When you give somebody a garment, you won't go into his house to go and collect it. He says, stand outside, let the person bring it. I look at it, what difference does it make? I borrow you something, you are meant to give me. If I come into your house to collect it and I wait outside, what difference does it make? But do you know that some people, what makes them who they are is their home. There are some people that we see here today. We rate them in certain regard. By the time you get to their house, you will change your mind about them. Right? Either the way their house look or the way they relate with their family. You say, now wow, I used to call this man bro. Bro. Do you understand? And I'll be like, we say this man is a big man. A big in one radio money. So the guy is just only my chairs, no chair, nothing. Do you understand? So like you have seen finished. So when people is saying something, there's a reason behind it. Don't mock him, don't shame him, you don't have to go inside. Stay outside. Wait for him to come and give it back to you. Don't go inside, don't go and embarrass him. You know, there are some people that they try as much as possible to ensure that they are there for their family. Maybe the children does not even have an understanding, but they know that daddy will always provide. But by the time, because you know they have enjoyed certain privilege through you, and you want to go to their house and say, you have children, you have a wife. That's good, though. You're trying, you know. I can see. Was that not that thing I gave to you last week? You know, family will be like, so somebody that even dash our daddy. So there are reasons for all of these things. He said, wait for him outside. Let him bring it to you. It was you and him that have that deal. You don't have to take it inside his house. Wait for him outside. Then in the second part, he now says, you shall stand outside, and the man whom you have made loan to shall bring the pledge to you. And if he is a poor man, you shall not sleep in his pledge. So he said, if the person that you borrow that cloak or that garment from is a poor person, so long as you know that this guy will have need for it, don't take it with you. And that is where generosity is talking about. I have 2 cars, right? And I know that there is a problem for you to actually do certain things, and I can give you. And I've given you my own car, right, for you to go. But because I just feel that I'm the owner of that car, at least it's my own, I can do anything. And I know that at that time I need for it, but I intentionally go and collect it from you. That is not too good. God has blessed you for a reason. So it's letting us know that we should apply such generosity to people around us. So that is why it is very critical. When we look at this context now, the marginalized here is the poor. And God is emphasizing that we should be generous towards them. Then verse 12 says, if he is a poor man, you shall not sleep in his pledge. You shall restore to him the pledge as the sun sets, that he may sleep in his cloak and bless you. And it shall be righteousness for you before the Lord your God. Look at what he's saying. Because God understands that if you take this one garment that this person has and you allow the sun to set, that means it goes into evening. This man is going to sleep in the cold. He's going to sleep in the cold. And then God understands that if that guy sleeps in the cold, it's even possible that the guy will not sleep from the night till morning. And the guy will actually be questioning God. God, why? Why is the situation like this? Why is this? But if you look at that person's situation and you leave the cloak, what would then happen? The guy will sleep comfortably. I'm even sure even in his sleep, even in his prayer that night, you say, I thank you for Bro Ade. Thank you, Lord, for making this to be. I don't have it. And it's not even time for it, but the person decided to give it to me. These are the things that show glory to God and gives blessing to us. So let's be generous to people around us. Let's be generous. Our second lesson says, payment of wages emphasized. The first one says generosity emphasized. The second one says payment of wages emphasized. Verse 14 to 18. We are reading from the book of Deuteronomy 24 for our lesson today, which says justice and the marginalized. Our second lesson is payment of wages emphasized. Deuteronomy 24, 14 to 18. Deuteronomy 24, 14 to 18. Who is reading for us?
Do not cheat poor and needy, hired servants, whether they are Israelites or foreigners, living in one of your towns. Each day before sunset, pay them for that day's work. They need the money and have counted on getting it. If you do not pay them, they will cry out against you to the Lord, and you will be guilty of sin. Parents are not to be put to death for crimes committed by their children, and children are not to be put to death for crimes committed by their parents. People are to be put to death only for a crime they themselves have committed. Do not deprive foreigners and orphans of their rights, and do not take a widow's garment as security for a loan. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and that the Lord your God set you free. That is why I have given you this command.
There are some people that the Bible told us that God actually gave much credence to in the Bible. It talks about the needy, the widow, the orphans, Abby, and the foreigners, strangers. Although in our land today, I think naturally, we just give much respect to foreigners. If one white person enter this place now, either the person is even real Oyinbo or not, everybody will want to accord him that, you understand? Naturally, we do that. But here in our lesson today, it talks about payment of wages emphasized. So, God understands that at certain points, you have need to hire people that will work for us. And it says, aside from the fact that we should ensure that the poor amongst us, we restore to them what belongs to them because of what they need. So also, when we hire people to work for us, especially people that are poor and needy, the reason for a man to go and pick a job in the first place is because the man has needs to meet, has obligations to fulfill. And he's saying here that you shall not oppress a hired worker who is poor and needy, whether he is one of your brothers or of the sojourners who are in your land within the towns. You shall give him his wages on the same day before the sun sets. He is poor and counts on it. Here, they are even talking about daily pay job, Abi. Let's even look at here in our own context. daily pay job is not so frequent or very popular, what we do is 30 days make a pay, right? He's saying that, 30 days make a pay. He's saying here that, you know, there was a place that when it is time to pay salary, the money has come, they'll go and put the money in fixed deposit and wait for maturity. So that, you know, you're supposed to collect your salary on the 25th, but the fixed deposit will mature on the 30th. When they are paying the salary, it's not as if they are going to increase the pay on the salary by the interest that has accrued over that number of days. What they will still pay is what? Is still the same salary. Please, the person that is meant to collect salary on the 25th and you are paying on the 30th, that guy, you have forced him to go and borrow money somewhere. Because he has needs to meet. Because that 25th has been programmed into his life.
Our teachers
has been programmed into his plan. This is how we spend money. This is where money will come from. These are the time money will come from. So it is quite important that we meet up with that deadline. And you put that person into pressure. And you know, the funny thing about salaries, everybody that we work for or that works for us, what we pay determines the kind of life that person will live. Your employer determines the school your children will go, except if you are stealing money. Your employer determines the kind of place you will live, except if you are stealing money. If you go to a place, they pay you 100,000 naira per month. Can you send your children to Corona school? Can you? Except you are still, you can. I believe in miracle too. Except you are stealing money. Because by the time they tell you how much the school fees is, maybe you need like your 6 months salary ahead advance to be able to pay the school fees. The child will not wear school uniform. The child will not buy books. Will not do extracurricular activities. Will not go for after school. You understand? So it is even important that which you are paying, it's important that you pay. Because if you don't pay, you put that person in a pressure. The person will be subject to different kind of embarrassment. The person will now cry to God. And God is saying that when the poor cries to them, he will hear. So it becomes a problem for you. So it is important that when you agree that I'm going to pay a so date, if there is any reason why you are not able to meet up, carry that person along. I apologize. I know your payment is due on this date, but I am unable to fulfill it. Please understand with me, but I promise, by so date, I will ensure I make your payments to you. And if you are also in that situation where somebody is not fulfilling their obligation, and you know that truly, it's not that the money is not there, but this person has just decided not to pay me, God is giving you license here to cry. It's open license. This kind of things, God is giving you, you know that thing is due to you. Cry to God, you will get your money. So it is quite important. Then, let's rush because of our time. We are supposed to be in the last lesson now. And now it's also telling us that, say, lest he cry and against you to the Lord, and you be guilty of sin. And yes, also say that fathers shall not be put to death because of their children, or children be put to death because of their fathers. Each one shall put to death for their own sin. I won't waste time on that. So it's just saying that every man for himself. You know, there was a place where they were saying that the father has sinned, the children are eating sacred. But yeah, it's telling us that everybody will do what? Will pay for their own sin. Whatever you have done. And then the last part says, we shall not pervert justice due to the sojourner or to the fatherless, or take a widow's garment in pledge. But you shall remember that you were a slave in Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you from there. Therefore, I command you to do this. So, don't forget, we talk about the poor, we talk about the orphan, we talk about the widow and the foreigners. God takes specific interest in these people. And it's important that we also see them in that manner. So don't take the garment of a widow. That person is already in a confused state. That person is already in a miserable world. He's just look one or two things to live for. But by the time you now even make life harder for those people, those kind of people, God will hear their cry. Remember the story of a woman in the Bible that was always going to a king, disturbing the king. King, give me this. King, give me this. The king said it's not as if the woman deserves it. But because just for the woman to give him peace of mind, he said, oh, I don't want to see this woman in my palace again. Give her whatever he wants. How much more God, when a widow or a poor person or orphan or a stranger now cries to him? So please, let's understand that it is good that when we are supposed to pay people, let's pay them. No matter how small we consider it to be. So long as it's an agreement that do this thing for me, I will pay you this. Don't say, what did he do? Because I called you to come and wash in my house. He washed 10 clothes, that's it. No. I didn't think that it was going to be that small. You have had an agreement. Pay that person. Once you come and do this for me, but I thought the money will come, but can I pay you? And you have the money. Pay the person. Don't take anything for granted. Pay the person. As long as we're still expecting blessings from God. The last part says, be kind. Be kind. Verse 19 to 21. We are studying the book of Deuteronomy 24. Our lesson for today is justice and the marginalized. Deuteronomy 24, verse 19 to 21. Be kind is our last lesson. Who is reading for us?
When thou cuttest down thy harvest in thy land, and hast forgotten a sheaf in the field, thou shalt not go again to fetch it. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the work of thy hand. When thou beat the olive tree, thou shalt not go over the boughs again. It shall be for the stranger, for the fatherless, and for the widow. 21. When thou gather the grapes of thy vineyard, thou shalt not glean it afterwards. It shall be for the stranger, and for the fatherless, and for the widow.
Be kind. It's simple and straightforward. You know, I remember when I was working in the bank, we had a guy that used to work with us. In fact, that guy became an inspiration to me at some point. Because they called him PSO, Productivity Support Staff. One thing I noticed is that anytime everybody is eating, you know, in the bank, maybe there's a time everybody will gather money to the cleaner, they'll go and buy food for everybody. He won't send them food. He will not send them food. When the cleaner brings the food, they will take it to the kitchen. Everybody, you know what you have sent them, where your food is. We'll be going in turn to eat. You won't see this guy come to eat. But he has this very long bottle. He's always filling it with water. If you ask him, I won't call his name because we are streaming online. If you ask him, you say, when are you going to go? And he say, I've taken water. I say, is water food? He said, I've taken water. I said, water is not food. I said, they will look at you. By the time you look at it, if I take this water like 4 now, I'll be filled. Because you know it is 4 o'clock, we'll go home, I'll go and eat. Because it's not this thing you are eating. I think you realize the guy didn't have money to eat. Until one day, we ate. And then some of us had remnants in the kitchen. The guy just came to me, just said, Shola, that's Kinikon. I heard you were the one that sent them. Do you see our plan for it? I didn't understand what he means. He said, plan as in, say, are you still going to go and eat it? I said, well, I don't think so, Sha. But I said, what happened? He said, okay, don't worry. The guy just went there. The guy cleared everything. And I noticed that anytime we finish it, the guy will go to the kitchen and go and be checking the place, whether anybody left something. So that day, sometimes when I have money, I'll tell the guy, say, you won't buy food? We'll buy. Sometimes deliberately, I will not finish the food. Because, what on earth will make somebody to go and be searching whether people left leftover food to eat? It doesn't happen. Forget, before in those days, when you want to do jam, they'll say get a banker to sign your jam form. Abi. Today, bank work has become, nobody will even say a banker should come and sign your form. Anybody can become bank. Now, our source staff is too much. How much are they paying them? Let alone. Productive support staff is office assistant. They just use title to package it to office assistant. Go and do photocopy. Go and bring file. Go and bring this. All of those things. You understand? So, I see all of those things, and that's what the Bible is talking about. Today we don't farm. It's saying that when you farm and you go and pack your harvest, and things, you forgot some part of your produce in the farm. So don't go back and get it. Let's leave it there. It's not because you are wasteful. It's telling you that some people don't have hope. They are praying that maybe after these people finish their harvest, so God will touch their mind. They will drop some things on the floor. They will go and pick it. Some of us have security that works for us. We send them something. We even be calculating the money. Don't give me that. Don't give me that. I know how much I gave you. Let's calculate it together. And you bought water, how much? Be kind. Not until when they ask. Deliberate. Just let it go. Be kind. Some of us have domestic staff that work with us in whatever capacity. Be kind. Don't wait for people to ask. Go to a place. Something. The church is not meant to be this kind of situation. You might just feel that. Let me just. Don't say he didn't ask. Looking at him that I'm supposed to be kind. I tell my children, my eldest child is just about 3+. When we give her food, and she will eat it, and she will now leave the rest. I'll tell her, I say, Madam, some children don't have food to eat. I'm saying it to her ear now so that she will know. See, if you continue like this, you will say I'm hungry. I tell your mommy not to give you. The one you I'm telling her, children don't have food to eat. And it's not everything that you will eat or you request that you will get. Eat your noodles. You say, I'm full. You are full. But they say you are hungry. They don't make the food. Say, I don't want again. I don't want Cocoa Puffs. I want Godimo. In my own days, what you call good demon was my own Gary. Be kind. Remember that passage. There's a thing where he says, Father will carry their own, children will carry their own. Don't say, I'm still a young child, me, I don't have anything. Don't be wasteful. You don't know what your parents go through to give you that small thing they are giving you. You say, after all, what did they give me? You just lavish it as if nothing. If you know what they have to take, the kind of nonsense, even for people of your own age that have to take nonsense from, just to ensure they give that kind of lifestyle, be kind. He says, let me just rush it because of our time. When you beat olives and you shall not go over there again, it shall be for sojourners, fatherless, and the widow. When you gather grapes on your vineyard, you shall not strip it afterward. It shall be for sojourners, fatherless, and the widow. Be kind. Make some certain things deliberate. Give a tip to somebody. Ask somebody how are they doing. Ask somebody about their family. It's not everything that has to do with money. People that feel that they are so far away from you because they see you as oga. Just stop them by one day and say, where are you staying? How do you go and come? It's not that you have money, but you still show that you care about them. Be kind. It's not too expensive, it's not too hard. Be kind. People that they feel that, they can't even approach you because of how they place you in church. Walk up to them once in a while, say, how far are you? How are you? How far? How is everything good? Be kind. So all of these things is to give us a good way of living together, of interacting together, and ensuring that if we do all of these things, we'll gradually become like God, who is the true source of justice. And that's the whole essence of our lesson for the month of January. We'll give time for contribution and question. Contribution.
I have question and I have contribution. My question is two. You said we should be kind and we should be generous. Something happened at my place of work last week. Okay, something happened at my place of work last week. I have this work that I'm doing. I now asked my sales girl, one thing with me is that when you are working with me, I trust you. I believe if I ask you to do this thing, do it exactly the way I want. My mom now said, my for money like won't be that. I give her money, I give her everything. I make sure she collects her salary. So on Thursday, I got to the shop very early, and I was like, she was so sluggish. Patekia, checking in. Oh, let me quickly go and do this thing myself, because they believe that I don't like going out to Guakoro, so let me just sit down. So I just said, well, you can't be me. I went to the market myself. And I got there, and I realized that she actually added money. 50 naira. How much is 50 naira? On like 20 places. And now, when I got back to the shop, I now told my mom. My mom was like, "Shebi mo sọ fún ẹ, ebi wọlé ògbọ." The next time, she was meant to go and balance something. Mowa funi, exactly 100 naira. I removed the 50 naira. She came back, she didn't see anything. In such a case, what will you do to such a person? And it is not as if you don't give her money. We give her money, like the food you said. She loves eating. So anytime we are eating, we give her food. Anytime we are doing this, we give her. So in such a thing, what should you do?
Okay, ask the second one.
The second one is a contribution. As when it comes to kindness, it's always good to be kind. Something happened when I was in the university. I was in my room one time. Somebody came. I came to check someone. I don't have transport money. Please help me. And I'm the only one in the house. I was like, okay, take. Will you believe it? Like months later, the guy came back to say thank you. That you really saved my life that day. I was like, I didn't even remember. It was like, you are the one that gave me the money. So at times, what we do, you may not even remember that you helped someone or you've done an act of kindness to someone. Anybody you have the chance or the power to help, try as much as possible to help that one, because it goes a long way. Sorry, I talk too much. I remember something, my mom told me something. She helped someone at the airport one time like that. The person wants to cross the border. She now said, Mommy, I think she wants to go and buy market. My mom now gave him money to cross. When they finished crossing, she collected the money back. Years later, she said she was on Peckham Street. She just saw somebody park limousine beside her and was like, ẹ rántí ni tẹ fún mi lówó kí n fi kọjá lọ́dọ̀ immigration. My mom was like, èmi ò rántí. And you know, he gave her money more than what she used in helping him that time. So it was a lesson for me then that anytime you have the chance to help someone, because what you do will always come back to you.
Thank you so much, ma. At least if you don't remember anything in today's lesson, remember, be kind. If you are all kind towards one another, there won't be corruption. If you are all kind towards one another, maybe there won't be terrorism today. So the first question, she has been nice to our worker, and then the worker still decided to still be bad towards her. What should be done in that regard? Does anyone want to help us? So I don't be the only. It's Sunday school class. It's not sermon, so it's not like the church. Okay.
ẹ jẹ́ kí a máa gbàdúrà.
I was going to say
ẹ jẹ́ ká máa
something
gbàdúrà ní class.
when it was finishing that, and that question came. So I guess what you should do is call her and tell her
ẹ
that,
jẹ́ a máa gbàdúrà.
come, I know what you did. You did this, you did that. After, all my kind ways to you, don't do this anymore. It is a bad sign. You should not. If you need something, say it or ask it. And if I have it, I will give it to you. So I think that's the best thing. So, and the reason why I was going to contribute that people take advantage of this kind arts. They take advantage of it. They'll be like, and that's exactly what she did. She'll be like, it's nothing to her. She go give me. But she doesn't know that it is bad. So if we need something,
ẹ jẹ́ kí a máa
we should
gbàdúrà.
always teach our younger ones or our children that if you need something, ask. Don't try to take advantage of people. And people in our workplaces too, they do that. Once you show them one kindness, out of your free will, they turn it to an habit. They see you every time. Oga Alpha
a
now.
dúpẹ́ ní ọwọ́ Ọlọ́run fún ẹ̀kọ́ yìí tí a fi gbẹ̀yìn oṣù January. A rí i pé gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹ̀kọ́ tí a kọ́, a rí i pé àwọn ọmọ Ísírẹ́lì ni Ọlọ́run bá sọ̀rọ̀ ńgbà yẹn ló ń tẹnumọ́ fún wọn wípé torí káwọn náà lè rántí ibi tí àwọn náà ti ń bọ̀. A rí i pé àwa dẹ̀ lọ́mọ Ísírẹ́lì àsìkò sí tọ́lọ́run tún tẹ̀ mọ́ létí ohun tó tẹ̀ mọ́ wa létí ohun tọ́lọ́run ń béèrè lọ́wọ́ wa láti ṣe láti máa rántí àwọn opó rántí àwọn aláìní ó lè jẹ́ pé ayé ẹni tó ti jẹ́ ọ̀gá tó ní àwọn òṣìṣẹ́ lábẹ́ ká má ṣe fi owó ọ̀yà wọn ká má ṣe fi dùn wọ́n kínú àwọn náà lè dùn nígbà táwọn náà bá dé inú ìdílé wọn ká dẹ̀ jẹ́ ní tó ń ṣàánú mo rò pé gbogbo eléyìí ọlọ́run àwọn ẹnì kọ̀ọ̀kan wa lọ́wọ́ láti ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ ní orúkọ Jésù Kristi ẹ jẹ́ kí a tẹríba nígbà tí à ń gbàdúrà ìparí ẹ jẹ́ kí a tẹríba tàbá rí ẹ̀kọ́ tí a ti wò ní àárọ̀ yìí bóyá ibì kan wà táwa náà ti ń ṣe táàmù pé bóyá àsìkò prayer làwà o.
over act of obedience and curses over act of disobedience. So it is important that we all understand that every action,
bóyá ibì kan náà wà táwa náà ti ń ṣe mistake tẹ́lẹ̀ nínú àwọn ẹ̀kọ́ tá a ti wò lẹ́yìn.
What do you call it? As equal and opposite reaction.
So when you do your own, there's a result. Kí Ọlọ́run kó ràn wá lọ́wọ́ láti lè tẹ̀síwájú láti lè ṣe àtúnṣe níbi tí ó ti yẹ. Ẹ jẹ́ ká sọ fún Ọlọ́run.
Don't do it because of anybody. I pray God will help us in Jesus' name. Let's pray together as we go. We have learned what God has given us today, and we can see here that there are a lot of good that are bound for us. It goes beyond us, even our children, to create a better life for us.
thanksgiving unto the Lord. I welcome all of us, and I pray that God's grace will be sufficient for all of us this morning in the name of Jesus. Ǹjẹ́ bí a ti wá síwájú Ọlọ́run lówùúrọ̀ yìí, ká máa ti inú oore ọ̀fẹ́ dé inú oore ọ̀fẹ́, inú ìbùkún dé inú ìbùkún, ayọ̀ wa kó pọ̀ sí lórúkọ Jésù. A kí wa káàbọ̀ sí abẹ́ ìsìn yìí.
Ẹ káàárọ̀ gbogbo lẹ́jọ́ gbogbo àgbo obìnrin ẹ jẹ́ ká tò wọlé pẹ̀lú ijó àti ayọ̀ la máa fi wọnú àgbàlá Ọlọ́run. Please let's go outside and process him with thanksgiving.
Our processional hymn is in the bulletin. Please open the bulletin in one of the parts of it you